Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into one of the biggest, most fundamental ideas in all of economics, perfect competition. I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine you run a business, but you have absolutely zero, and I mean zero, say in the price you get to charge for your product. Sounds kind of crazy, right? Well, that is the core idea behind a market that economists call perfect competition. And to really get it, we need to understand the rules of this seemingly impossible world. Okay, so let's be clear. This perfect market, it isn't something you're going to find down the street. It's really a theoretical model, kind of like a physicist's idea of a frictionless surface. It's a benchmark that operates on three very, very strict rules. So what are these rules? First off, you need a ton of buyers and sellers. So many, in fact, that no single person or business can move the needle on the price. Second, everybody is selling the exact same thing. Think identical bushels of wheat. You can't tell one from the other. And third, it's got to be super, super easy for new businesses to just jump into the market. When you get these three conditions, every single business is forced into a very unique position. They become what's known as a price taker. The market sets the price, and you just have to take it. You're simply too small and your product is too common to have any influence at all. Think about a single farmer. No matter how much wheat they grow, they can't change the global price of wheat one tiny bit. So if you can't set your own price, how in the world do you make a profit? I mean, what's left for you to control? Well, to figure that out, let's meet Sasha. She's a carrot farmer, and her goal is really simple. She wants to make as much profit as possible in this incredibly tough market. Take a look at this table. It basically lays out Sasha's options. If she grows, say, 6,000 boxes of carrots, she makes a decent $13,000 profit. But look what happens if she tries to produce more. At 8,000 boxes, her profit actually drops. The sweet spot, as you can see, is right there at 7,000 boxes. That's where she hits her peak profit of $13,500. So how does she know that? I mean, you can't be whipping out a giant spreadsheet every time you need to make a decision. It's just not practical. She needs a simple rule, right? A kind of guiding principle that tells her exactly when to stop producing. And luckily for her, economists have one. The secret is to start thinking on the margin. Now, that sounds a little technical, but all it really means is thinking one unit at a time. We just need to compare two key numbers. First is marginal revenue. That's the extra cash she gets for selling just one more box of carrots. And the second is marginal cost, the extra cost of producing that one more box. And since Sasha is a price taker, her marginal revenue is always $7. That's the market price. It never changes. So the logic becomes really, really simple. For that 7,000th box, she gets $7, and it only cost her $6.50 to grow it. That's a 50-cent profit on that specific box. Total no-brainer. She should definitely do it. But what about the next one, that 8,000th box? Well, it costs her $9 to produce, and she's still only getting $7 for it. Whoops, that's a $2 loss. And right there, that reveals the golden rule. And this isn't just for farmers, this is for any business trying to maximize its profit. You keep producing as long as your marginal revenue is higher than your marginal cost. The moment they're equal or the cost flips to being higher, that's it. That's your sign to stop. Okay, so Sasha knows how to maximize her profits when things are good. But what happens when things go wrong? Let's say the market price for carrots suddenly crashes, and now she's losing money on every single box. Now that is a tough decision. Her goal isn't about making a profit anymore. It's just about damage control, minimizing her losses. So what's the right move? Does she tough it out, or does she shut down the farm for a while? Well, it all depends on the price. The key here is to split her costs into two different buckets. You've got your fixed costs. That's stuff like her farm loan or rent. She has to pay those no matter what, even if she doesn't grow a single carrot. But then you have variable costs, things like seeds, fertilizer, wages for her workers. She only has to pay those if she's actually farming. So here's the rule. As long as the price she's getting is high enough to cover the variable cost of making that box of carrots, she should actually keep going. Yeah, she's losing money overall, but every box she sells helps chip away at those fixed costs she's stuck with anyway. But the second the price drops so low it doesn't even cover the cost of fertilizer for that box, well, now she's just digging a deeper hole. That's when it's time to shut down. Okay, so now let's zoom out a bit. Sasha isn't on an island. her decisions, and the decisions of thousands of other farmers just like her, they all combine to create this really powerful dynamic that shapes the whole market in the long run. Just think about it. Back when Sacher was making all that great profit, you can bet other farmers noticed. And because it's so easy to get into carrot farming, a whole crowd of new farmers starts to show up. And what happens then? Well, the market gets absolutely flooded with carrots. Supply goes way up, and basic economics tells you that pushes the price way down. For everybody. This whole process just keeps going until the price drops so low that all that extra profit just disappears. It's like profits are a giant magnet, pulling in new competitors until they vanish. And this isn't just some abstract theory. We've seen this happen in the real world. Remember the BlackBerry? In the late 90s, they were basically printing money. Their profits were enormous. And those profits acted like a giant flare, signaling an opportunity to the whole market. And of course, competitors like Apple saw that flare, they rushed in with the iPhone, and the result was so much competition that it just completely eroded BlackBerry's market share, and eventually all those profits. So if profits always seem to disappear and it's this constant, brutal struggle just to survive, you gotta ask the question, why in the world do economists call this model perfect? The reason is all of that relentless, unforgiving competition forces the entire market to become incredibly efficient. And not just in one way, but in two really specific and really important ways. This efficiency comes in two flavors. First, you have productive efficiency. That's all about making things at the lowest possible cost. It answers the question, are we making things the right way? And then you have allocative efficiency, which is all about making the exact mix of stuff that society really wants. That answers the question, are we making the right things? And here's the beautiful part. A perfectly competitive market, in theory anyway, achieves both. That crowd effect we talked about forces every farmer, like Sasha, to be as lean as possible, producing at their absolute minimum cost just to stay in business. That's productive efficiency. At the same time, because the price consumers pay is equal to the marginal cost of producing, the market ends up making the exact amount of carrots people want. No more, no less. And that is allocative efficiency. And that's really the punchline. This intense pressure creates a market that gives consumers exactly what they want, at the lowest possible price. It is a brutal, brutal world for the businesses involved, but for the rest of us, it's pretty much perfect. Which leads us to the final and most important question. If this system is so darn efficient, why is it so rare? Why don't we see it everywhere? And the reality is, almost no real-world market actually meets those three strict rules. But that's exactly why the model is so important. It gives us a perfect benchmark, a measuring stick we can use to see just how competitive or how uncompetitive the markets all around us truly are. Thanks for joining us.